My name is Caitlin Reynolds, and I'm with Alliant International University, and I will be going over week three's discussion on lesson planning. I will be answering two questions. First question: how does the lesson plan template provided differ from others you have seen? I personally have only seen about two lesson plan templates. I've only planned lessons at two other schools with a total of 2 to 3 other teachers in the same grade. During both lesson planning times, the templates they used were not as detailed as the one provided. Since the majority of the lesson plan template provided is different, I will be speaking on some of the similarities between the one provided and the ones I've seen. During lesson planning with other teachers, we would plan next week's lesson the week prior. We would always confirm and list the standards for each lesson. We would always write the objectives attainable by the students. So we would write them with an I can in front of the objective. For example, I can add and subtract double digit numbers. Depending on the subject and lesson, there may be an exit ticket given to students to check their knowledge of the lesson. From my experience, math had an exit ticket every day at the end of the lesson, but reading lessons would have practice work during the lesson in the students' workbooks and occasionally have an exit ticket at the end of the lesson. Reading would have an assessment after each module. Math would have a mid-module assessment and end of a module assessment. During our lesson planning days, we would not touch on diverse learners and how we would teach them. But when we would have our data chat meetings, this is when we would discuss assessment scores and common areas of weakness in the classes that we can target during future lessons. We would also discuss those students who needed additional support during the lessons, who would be taken to the back table with the teacher for extra guidance in the lessons. During each week of planning lessons, we would pick apart one reading lesson to make sure the lesson matches the standards. We would discuss possible misunderstandings from students and make sure we would combat those before they happened by teaching the lesson a certain way. My next question is: what three elements do you think you would find challenging? Provide rationale for your response. An element that I would think would be challenging when using the lesson plan template provided is the diverse learners section. This section asks what strategies I will use to support the needs of all diverse learners in my classroom. I would like to be able to learn more about the various types of learners in the classroom. My experience with this topic is that there are visual learners, auditory learners, reading and or writing learners, as well as kinesthetic learners. Students can learn best by more than one of these types of learning. I would like to know more about the ways to incorporate these modes of learning in the classroom so that each student is able to learn effectively. Another element that I think would be challenging is using the lesson plan template is the classroom management section. In my experience so far, classroom management has been rough sometimes. I will be teaching elementary school and notice that with the older grades like fourth and fifth grade, it is harder to refocus them on what they are working on. I would like to know more about how I can refocus the classroom while still maintaining a positive learning environment at all times. Another element that I think will be challenging when using the lesson plan template provided is pieces of the guided practice section. One piece that would be difficult for me to complete is the scaffolding piece. I haven't had any experience with scaffolding. I have been to a professional development meeting at one of the schools I was teaching at. They briefly touched on this topic about scaffolding, but I was a bit lost and did not understand this fully. This would be a topic that I need to learn more about to successfully complete this section of the lesson plan template. The other piece of the guided practice that would be difficult is to monitor and correct each student's performance. From my experience teaching a class, I would give them an in-class assignment and have them work either independently or as a group. Once they started the assignment, I would walk around and monitor their work and conversations. If I did notice that they were having trouble, I would guide them in the correct direction by giving them helpful hints to get their minds circulating. If I feel like most of the class is having trouble, I refocus the whole class and explain instructions again with guidance. I found this to be the hardest to achieve without having the experience of teaching prior. I need to learn more ways to be able to monitor and correct a class effectively. This would make this piece easier to understand, fill out, and implement. Thank you for listening.